In doing so, I will not relinquish my role and responsibility by state statute, and that is to provide you and this community with a certified budget that I know is adequate to provide public safety services at the level that they need to be. So we'll continue to do that. With that, what I'd like to do is open it up for questions. We have a full staff here, and we're ready to go.
Believe it or not, I don't have one commissioner requesting to ask anything. Oh, there we go. Guess who? Commissioner Coyle.
Sheriff Rambos, thank you very much. Could I ask you about, well, rather than getting into the details, maybe I just ask you a question. You've agreed to reduce your budget. You didn't tell us exactly where, but did you address the attrition policy? Is that an area where we can achieve some savings without impacting headcount?
No, unfortunately, you know, in years past when we had the vacancy rate that we had, that seemed a reasonable request and direction. Unfortunately, we're not seeing a lot of attrition. I think since the first of the year, we've seen very, very few members. I think the dilemma would be if we followed the existing or past practice of reducing a 4% attrition. I would need to be back to you on October 2nd making a request for 90% funding of our budget because we will have so few vacancies at that point to refill. I don't believe in the position that we're in with the cuts we've made and with the lack of attrition that we're going to see in the coming year, that would actually benefit the county as it has done in the past to free up dollars that haven't been spent.
How about the self-insurance reserves? And if you prefer to wait until Janet Vasey comes up and makes her observations from the Productivity Committee, that's okay with me.
Yeah, no, that's good. We actually heard from the Productivity Committee. We looked at all of their recommendations. That was one of them. You know, initially, it seems like without a problem, that request would be a reasonable request. The only thing that was brought up during our discussions, which I felt would be important for you to know, is, you know, by next year, by November, there will be more of a pandemic. We don't know how serious it will be, but might that reserve be able to be used if we need it? You know, we're not losing the dollars. They're always there to be turned back over. We're just concerned that as a frontline agency who are meeting the public on a regular basis, they're interacting, they're getting sick. If we were to run into any more serious of an issue than is projected, and there isn't a serious, deadly pandemic that's projected, but the pandemic is coming. Might that be an avenue of redress in our insurance? Beyond that, it was a good recommendation.
Did you have a...
Yes, Randy Greenwald for the record. I work with the Office of Management and Budget. I just wanted to clarify one thing. The sheriff did put reserve for attrition in his budget of $5,087,500.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Which was the policy that we gave them. We told them to take their funded positions and take 4% on the salaries and fringes, and they did do that.
I think the issue was whether it was based on filled positions or
it was based on the policy that the county uses.
Then
based
maybe
on funded positions.
Maybe we ought to talk about the county's policy then. Okay.
I mean, that's what everybody did. maybe that provides us an opportunity. So when
Janet gets up here to talk, we'll pursue that a little more closely. Is there another potential source of funding that might be available, either from overall county reserves or from state or federal funds that might address the issue of a pandemic? You see, my concern is for everybody to hold back reserves in the event of the worst case situation. We're holding back reserves in the event of a hurricane. You're holding back reserves in the event of a pandemic. Well, maybe we ought to think about earthquakes and other things too. You know, it seems cumulative, and I think the chances of us being faced with all of these things in the same budgeting year are relatively slim. And to base the taxpayers' millage rate on the expectation of an event that may or may not occur, I think is not being fair to taxpayers. That doesn't mean I think you should eliminate the reserve. I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity to adjust it a bit, and so that's all I'm asking you.
Yeah, there absolutely is. As I said, we were in the same position. We looked at all the what ifs, and we're flexible on that. That's not something that's a significant problem. If I were to believe that it was absolutely positively necessary to ensure the public safety, I'd tell you. But I think the recommendation from Productivity Committee was a good one, and we just had these couple of questions about if we run into that problem, will we be self-sufficient, so to speak? But I can always come and ask you for more money.
That's right, and if we haven't had that hurricane, we might be able to give it to you.
Absolutely.
But if we get both of them, we might have a problem. Okay, so at least we need to think about it and decide what adjustment of that reserve might be prudent under the circumstances. I'm not asking that you put yourself in a bind anywhere, but if you could take a look at it and then advise us as to what we could do with it, it would be greatly appreciated.
We'll absolutely do it. We're open to it. Let us take a look at what amount we feel comfortable with and get that information back to you.
Good. Thank you very much.
You know, we've mentioned Janet and Productivity Committee quite a few times. Let's get her up here, and then we'll hear from Commissioner Hallis.